Brr, it sure is cold in here. As most of you know, when it's cold outside, us humans like to put on lots of layers. But what do animals that live in the Arctic do? I'd like you all to pull out your scientific notebooks and write the title Blubber Gloves, and then write down as many animal adaptations as you can think of for animals that live in the Arctic. So out of all of the animal adaptations that you might have written in your notebook, one of them that we're going to be exploring today is the whale's use of blubber. Now what is blubber, you might ask? Blubber is a layer of fat and connective tissue between a whale's skin and their sensitive internal organs. The materials we're going to be using today to explore that question are 4 Ziploc bags, Crisco, a bucket of ice water, and of course, your scientific notebooks. The question at hand that we have to answer today is going to be, how do whales survive in the extreme cold? Now please pull out your scientific notebooks and write down the title, the materials, and our focus question. You can pause your video to do this. Now, as you all know, before we proceed with any exploration, we need to write down our general plan in our notebook. The first part of the plan is what we will change. Now in this activity, the first trial is going to be done with just 2 bags over your hand. When you stick it in the ice water, you're going to measure how much time you can leave your hand in the ice water before it starts to sting. The second trial, you will be adding a layer of Crisco in between the 2 bags and see if that increases or decreases the amount of time that your hand can stay in the bucket of ice water. The second part of your plan is what will stay the same. In this activity, you will be using the same 2 Ziploc bags and the same bucket of freezing cold Arctic ice water. The differences will be measured by taking the time of how long each one of those trials can stay inside the bucket of ice water. Please pull out your science notebook and write your general plan, which will include what we will change, what will be the same, and how the differences will be measured. You can pause the video and we'll go on to the next step. Before any exploration, we first need to write a prediction in our scientific notebook. In this experiment, you will be writing a prediction for how long you think your hand is going to last in the ice water with no blubber, and also write a prediction for how long you think your hand is going to be able to stay in the water with blubber. Please write your prediction in your scientific notebook and pause the video. During trial 1, you will be using 2 Ziploc bags that have been put inside of one another. You will then submerge your hand up to the brim in the ice-cold water. It's very important to note that as soon as your hand starts to get too icy cold and sting a little bit, that will be the time to pull your hand out. Please don't push any limits, as we don't want anyone to get injured or hurt. Please time your first trial and then write your time in your scientific notebook data graph. That was cold. In your second trial, you're going to be using the same 2 bags, except this time you are going to add a nice big layer of Crisco in between the 2. It's important that you put one bag inside of the other so that you don't get the Crisco all over your hands. Now it's important to remember that in this exploration, the Crisco is going to be simulating a whale's use of blubber to stay warm in the water. Now once you have a bunch of Crisco inside of the bag, you put your hand in the second bag and put it inside and squish it all around your hand so that not one little bit can be seen through the second bag. Then you will take your hand and submerge it in the water up to the level of the Crisco and time your second trial. Once your hand starts to get cold, please pull it out and record your second trial time on your data graph sheet in your scientific notebook. After recording all of your data on your data graph, you will move on to the conclusion, in which we are going to use the same format that we usually do, which is, I claim blank because blank. I think this because blank. You can also add any additional information as to how you carried out the experiment or anything that caught you off guard. Under conclusions, you will also write down any surprises that came up during the exploration or any questions that you'd like to further explore at a later time. Please pause the video and write down all of your conclusion. Thank you for embarking on this scientific quest with me as we explore how whales stay warm in the Arctic. Please tomorrow bring your scientific journals and be prepared to have a community discussion where we will compare all of our class data. Have a nice night and I'll see you tomorrow.